Weeding Through Similar Names, People v. Persons. November 2, 2019 by Anna von Reitz. People in this country are simply called people. Only persons are classed as either residents or inhabitants. This goes back to the settlement of the War of Independence and the Treaty of Peace 1783. Americans are the free, sovereign, and independent people referenced, and the inhabitants are the British sailors and customs agents and others left here after the war to provide essential government services under the terms of the peace treaty. Both inhabitants and residents are here as foreigners on our soil, and both are understood to have a temporary domicile on our soil while delivering essential government services. In the fine points of the law, the British Territorials are called inhabitants and municipal citizens of the United States are called residents, though both are federal citizens, and in actual common practice, everyone but the higher courts and better educated lawyers use the terms interchangeably. Their state of state, the territorial state of state, has always been called the State of New York and the State of Connecticut, just as their territorial entity doing business in our name and exercising some of our delegated powers has always been called the United States of America, while the actual country has always been called the United States of America. This similarity of names has been the source of endless confusion and deceits, but it is actually pretty easy to sort out. People live in states. Persons live in states of states. Whenever you see reference to the United States of America, you know that you are seeing a discussion about the British Territorial United States government, and whenever you see the State of New York or records referencing such an entity, you know that you are looking at the territorial version, too. The naming conventions may initially be confusing, but they are, as you note, consistent throughout. The Federation state called New York gives rise to the Confederation state of state that is supposed to be doing business as the State of New York. As always, the definite article is part of the proper name. Just as we live in the United States of America, people living in New York are supposed to be served by their own state of state business entity, and that entity is the State of New York. The is also affirmed by the rules of English grammar. When you have the State of New York, you are describing by definition a State of New York, but when you say the State of New York, you are describing a unique entity having an unincorporated and sovereign character. Perhaps this would be easier to see if you consider this same proposition with a common name like John Brown. We all know that there may be many men named John Brown, so we factor that in and easily accept the fact that there may be a John Brown who lives on Clarkson Avenue and another John Brown who lives in Mount Pleasant. Thus, though the name appears identical, we may be speaking about a John Brown but not the John Brown, a ship in the Navy. I hope this helps, and that henceforward, you will be more readily enabled to identify the apples American from the oranges British organizations which took root at nearly the same time and which share such disconcertingly similar names. If you are looking for American records, they are much harder to find because the British have largely purged all American references from their records to promote their secretive takeover attempt. However, if you are diligent, you will find an abundance of records that refer to both the Federation and the Confederation belonging to the States of the Union, and you will also find reference to the American states of states, as the State of New York and the State of Ohio, etc. Finally, please note, again, that our states are not states of states. The state is New York. The state is California. The state is Ohio. See that? People live in New York. Territorial persons inhabit the State of New York, and still other municipal persons reside in the State of New York. See the difference? All states of states are doing business as entities, and they are by definition not states of the Union. Period. Take a look at the definitions section of the Uniform Commercial Code and look up the definition of state of state. Get this nailed down in your heads: states are not states of states. The members of the American Confederation of States of States, formed under the Articles of Confederation, March 1, 1781, which is supposed to be running our federal government, is composed of entities doing business as the State of New York, the State of Florida, and so on. The members of the British Territorial States of States operate as the State of New York, the State of Florida, and so on. And the members of the Municipal States of States operate as the State of New York, the State of Florida, and so on. Please note that no municipal states of states should exist, and that the territorial states of states are continuing to usurp against the actual states by obfuscating the status of and need for completion of the reconstruction of the American states of states. Only the actual states and people of this country can reconstruct the American states of states. Only we can do the work of the reconstruction. And we have studiously been kept misinformed about the need to do so, by those benefiting themselves from our ignorance. But cheer up. The wheels are finally beginning to roll and the dawn is coming as more and more Americans wake up, reclaim their birthright political status, and assemble their actual states. Once the states are all assembled, we will be ready to move forward and restore the actual federal government we are owed. Go to www.theamericanstatesassembly.net.